All right, let's go. We are live. So, welcome, guys, to episode 3 of Style with Substance. A very special episode because it is Christmas, or at least when it's coming out. Um, but today we're going to be going over a song. Yes, it's another song. Unfortunately, it's not Christmas themed because I don't have anything Christmas themed or holiday themed in my library for now. Uh, and this is being recorded because I'm not going to be streaming on Christmas, and I don't think many people would watch a stream on Christmas. But regardless, it's still coming out on Christmas, and let's get right into it. So today I have a song called "The Game" by Motorhead. Um, Let me just pull this up on screen. 1 second. Move this over. Okay, here we go. Whoops. Let me put it over here. That's the wrong screen. Okay. So this is the game for Motorhead. So like usual, I'm just gonna let it play for a bit. I'm only gonna play half the song because it pretty much repeats itself. So, but regardless, here we go.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control. And if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pay. And who's gonna make it? I am the game. You don't wanna play me. I am control. No way you can shake me. I am heavy debt. No way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run like a Cleveland bitch from a smoking gun. I am the game, and I make the rules. So move on out. You can die like a fool. Trying to figure out what my move's gonna be. Come on over, sucker. Why don't you ask me? Don't you forget there's a price you can pay. 'Cause I am the game, and I want to play.
Intense song. All right. So that was the game. Well, at least the first half. Like I said, the other part is just instrumental and repeats the lyrics. Um, this song was written by Jim Johnson, who was the main music producer for the World Wrestling Federation back in the late 90s. And he wrote the song for a wrestler called Triple H, who was a heel, one of the easily top 5 heels of all time, in probably in wrestling history. And this was his main entrance theme, like after I think the early 2000s and beyond that. So let's go dive into it. So I'm not gonna play it again. I'm just gonna put the lyrics on the screen, and I'll explain why I'm talking about this. Why I'm talking about some wrestlers' music. Right. So time to play the game. Okay. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control and if you can take it. All about your debt and if you can pay it. All about pain and who's gonna make it. So some more background who Triple H was and why this was important to him. Triple H, or his real name outside of kayfabe, was Paul Levesque. He, like I said, he was this heel wrestler that he started wrestling in the early 90s, but he didn't really grow big into the late 90s in the Attitude Era. He was a student of the game, where a student of wrestling, where he just dedicated himself to learning the craft of pro wrestling through promos and technique and all that. And he strived to be one of the best wrestlers of all time. and many people say that he is. And he was a student of the game, and as the he grew more in popularity and he got better and better, he decided to change his gimmick more. Where before he was known as the kinetic blue blood, where he was this fancy guy who, uh, this fancy rich guy who's a snob. His character started to slowly more evolve into someone more ruthless and just more aggressive. And this is when he kind of had a character shift to when he became the game, which the song is based off of the game. And what does it mean to be the game? So the game is that you become so good at your craft that you practice so much practicing whatever you're trying to get, and it's just you go at it so much that you figuratively become the game. So in Triple H's case, that he practiced and studied wrestling so much, and he was so much of a student of the game that eventually, that in him doing that, he became wrestling. Now, some of you that might sound a little weird and doesn't make sense at all, but it's a figurative sense that you have so much control and dominance and knowledge over something that you almost become part of it when you're doing it. And this goes to any craft. This goes to really anything you can strive for. This could be an athletic sport. It could be playing music. It could be working something in a career. Whoops, that's microphone number one. um, yeah, I could work. I want to be the best salesman, or I want to be the best runner out there, or I want to be the best digital marketer. Any kind of craft that you would have to study on. Best studied philosophy. That if you dedicate yourself and just to getting better at the craft and being a pure student, that I want to be the best that I could be at this. Eventually, you could say in the figurative sense that you become that craft. For example, you can say, like, say, Michael Jordan in basketball, that he was so good that he almost represented basketball in the 90s when he played. That he was the icon of basketball and still is the best basketball player of all time. That he was the one purely innovating the sport. You can say that to uh, who's another? I'm trying to think of another person. Maybe you could say that Steve Jobs with, like, say, marketing technology, that he became so good at it, so revolutionary. He knew how to sell products that he became part of his game of that tech marketing. It, so you, it's really that's what becoming the game means. That in the figurative sense that you must become so good at it that it becomes you. And go back to the lyrics. So it's all about the game and how you play it. All about control and if you can take it. All about your debt and if you can pay it. It's all about pain and who's going to make it. And this is just a journey to get there. Who's going to be the best? Who's going to take the control of the craft? Who's going to be able to pay their debt? It could be in the literal sense, but this is implying the more figurative sense that who's going to make the most sacrifices, because any kind of goal that you have, any great big goal that you have, requires sacrifice. It requires sacrifice of some kind of resource, which is time, money, energy, people, anything. Focus. Even if it seems that you're just doing it for free or cheap, you are putting resources to any goal you have, because you have a finite amount of resources at any current moment. Time is one that, for the most part, it is definitely finite. It is finite in the purest sense. But if you are dedicated to becoming the best of your craft or top tier, if you want to become high value, you need to have sacrifice. You need to sacrifice anything to achieve any great goal. You're never going to get where you want to go by just always taking shortcuts. That's the key to remember, that if you're looking for shortcuts, you're gonna find a way to lose because that just means that I'm not willing to do what it takes to get to where I want to be, and that's especially true for being high value. Now, not everyone has to go through that route, right? You can be fine, content with just being who you reaching a certain goal, and it's like okay, that's enough. But if you want to get to that top 20%, that top 10, 5, 1%, whatever field of interest you're pursuing, you need to have that sacrifice. And oftentimes um, we see people that's like, oh, this person ran 100-mile ultra marathon, or that person traveled to like 60 different countries, and they're a billionaire. They have a great body. They did any kind of great goal you can think of. They live even if it's not like insane. It's like oh they live in a great neighborhood. They have a great significant other with great children and have a great life. Many people say, "Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Oh, that's nice. I wish I had that." But they're only seeing the end result. It's not nice. What wasn't nice is the sacrifice to get there. You may never know or see what kind of sacrifices they've been through. It could be just a few big ones or a lot of little small ones. All that pain it took to get to that moment. That's it's all about the pain and who's going to make it. Is anything truly valuable in life is always difficult. Like Theodore Roosevelt said that. Anything, and that's true. Uh, if it's easy, then everyone's doing it, and it's not that great. It's not that special. What makes these goals special is that not many people can do it. They're not willing to pursue it or not able to pursue it. And that's truly what makes will make you stand out from the crowd. Is if you just do what everyone else is doing, you're never going to stand out. You're going to get what they're getting, which is normal. You have to do something unique and do something that no one else is willing to do to get what you want. And that is the game. That's about becoming the game. If you really have one, you only really have one enough resources to really become obsessed with one thing at one time. So, for example, if I want to be a great guitarist, one of the best guitar players of all time, or at least in the top 1% of people alive, you got it. It requires so much resources, so much practice, time, money to get the materials you need, like to study to perfect your craft. That you really only have time to be obsessed about that one thing. That's about the game. That eventually you will become playing guitar. You are become one with the guitar, what a hippie would say. Right? Let's go on. Here we go. I am the game. You don't want to play me. I am control. No way you can change me. I am heavy debt. No way you can pay me. I am the pain. I I know you can't take me. And this is kind of a repeat of the previous verse. So this is pretty a great hype song that Triple H it's about, and like that's who he is. That you become the game. That you have so much control that you are control, because you become synonymous with it. I am heavy debt. I am the pain. But not only are you going through these sacrifices, you're leveraging it. That I am control. I took the control. I paid the debt. I am the debt. You have to pay me now. I am the pain because I went through so much pain that if you want to catch me, if you want to reach me, if you want to take me, you need to go through it. You need to go through me now. Right? Another great wrestler, Ric Flair, what does he say? In order to be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! All right. Go on. Look over your shoulder, ready to run, like a good little bee from a smoking gun. I am the game and I make the rules. So move on out here and die like a fool. So here's another part of this I want to talk about, which is ego. So this is a very cocky, overt song. I'm not making a moralistic judgment at all about this, right? About being overconfident or being arrogant. It's just a natural fact. Let me pull this up, but there is the Dunning Kruger effect that as you get better at something, you're going to slowly raise and get more competent at something. You're slowly going to grow more confident than you actually are. So let me just pull this up. Here we go. All right, the Dunning Kruger effect. So from the x axis is competence, the y axis is confidence. So competence is how good you're at something, confidence is how you feel, how good you feel about what you're good at. So anytime you start something, you start out low. That you're like, okay, I know nothing about this. I'm an example, play guitar, right? I know nothing about guitar, so I've no competence and no confidence that I can do it. But as you begin and you start to quickly learn and pick up things, you're gonna grow more and more confident. It's like, okay, I can play an A chord, I can play E chord, I can play G, and just so on. You keep adding chords, and you can play these very simple songs. So eventually, you're gonna reach the point of stupid, Mount Stupid, where you feel like, oh, this is easy. Though, what's the difficulty in this? And that's really your confidence is going to be at its peak, is you don't know how much more you have to go. And once you get past that beginner stage and you get to more of the actual complex stuff, you're going to fall back down where you're going to have those moments. And this graph can be a little misleading where there is going to be those big moments. Like, for example, this one might be better. Oh, no, I thought that was bumps. Here we go. Something more like this where be ups and downs, but there's been that initial moment where you're like, you start getting on to the more intermediate things, and you think, "Oh God, I'm not as good as this than I thought." And this is a moment a lot of people quit. Then it's like, "Oh, it's too difficult." However, even though your confidence have fell, that is like, "Okay, I'm really not that good at it." I now have perspective and appreciation of how much talent and hard work these people who are on the top went through. But if you're able to stick with it, you pay the price, you pay the pain, you pay the debt, you take control, you become the game. You keep going, you slowly get better. So you're going to get better and better, but it's going to be congruent with your confidence. Your confidence is now congruent with your competence. So as you go through that sacrifice, you're going to slowly get better and better until you reach the top or get higher up here where you're almost at the same confidence as you were before, but now you have a lot to back it up now. It's not false confidence that it's not the affirmations or the just tricking yourself with self beliefs. This is confidence that is backed by results. And that's the best kind of confidence, being backed up by results. So I'm talking about this because as you go along, you will build an ego. Now, an ego, I'm not saying that's bad at all. The issue with an ego is if it starts clouding your own judgment. That if you, once you start believing that you know everything, that's when you're going to fail, that you're going to fall behind. Is if you're not progressing, you're falling behind, is you're losing time. And Triple H, for example, is the eternal student of the game, where he was always trying to get better, and he just always had something to learn. And that's true for everyone. I consider myself an eternal student. That I'm young now. I'm very much a student. When I'm 60 years old, I'm going to be a student. There's way too much to learn on this planet that no one will ever have enough time to learn everything. And there's always going to be more to learn because people are figuring out more and more things. More things are being discovered, more things are being deciphered. So it's being the eternal student. But if you let your ego get out of control, where I am the game, I make the rules. If you let that go out of control and think like, oh, I am the game now, I'm just win, like Michael Jordan, for example, won 6 championships in 6 seasons, in back-to-back seasons with one break in between. He was the best. But if after, like, say, when he came back after retiring to play baseball, if he said, "Oh, I'm Michael Jordan. I know everything. I'm already the best. I don't need to practice as much. I don't need to learn new technique. I don't need to continuously improve." He likely would not have one of those championships or all of them, because everyone else was improving. It was just he was such a student of the game of basketball that he was able to do that. Being that eternal student, because there's always more to learn, and also too, it's a natural fact that we're getting older, and the less we do something, for example, if you took time off basketball, his skills start to slowly degrade. So even the best, take that lesson. The greatest of all times, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady. I'm just talking about sports right now, but you consider any other field, music, um, any kind of business, any kind of field. The best, they're always learning to get better because that's how they got there. So if you're able to assuage that ego part of not falling into the trap of thinking that you're the best, you can take it easy, put your gas off the pedal, um, and still maintain that confidence, saying like, "I am the game. I make the rules." No one else can compete with me because my hard work, my confidence, my ability is just so high up that I I'm a league behind above everyone else. They don't practice the game; they practice me. You get up there, that's the path to be top percentage. So that ego is good. So I used to think that a lot of successful people, that they had like, oh, they're arrogant, that they're so upfront, they're so overt with their success. But now I kind of realize that's only an issue if it's fake. That if they're putting up a show, that's not true. Like a lot of people say, for example, Jerry Seinfeld is arrogant now. He's older now and he's very standoffish about his position. They could be right, but he's earned it. He was one of the greatest comedians of his era. So I'm like, who am I to say anything? Who am I to say like, oh, he shouldn't have the ego? He's just stating a fact. It's that confidence, and that confidence will drive you and continuously help you move forward, as long as you don't let your ego remove your studentry. Yep. Try to figure out what my mood's gonna be. Come on, sucker. Why don't you ask me? Don't you forget that the price you can pay is I am the game and I want to play. Here we go. So try to figure out what my mood's gonna be. All this is all about, you know, controlling the frame. That if you're ever competing with someone in this kind of field of interest, either that's directly like a fight or indirectly where you're just going parallel, where you're both pursuing the same goal and you're like the protagonist and he's the antagonist. If you have the frame, your opponents will always be trying to react to you. They're always reacting to you. They're always thinking like, okay, what is he doing? Okay, if I do this and I go this way, like perform this action, how is he going to respond? So if you control that kind of frame where you're pretty much living rent free in their mind, that's a huge advantage. Is they're always going to play on your field, that you have home field advantage. You might not even know it or not, but look, just try to figure out what my mood's going to be. The fact that the song, they're claiming that the idea that your mood is so important to someone else that there's a fear to it. That's huge, right? It's like Iron Mike Tyson. So a lot of people when he was at his prime are probably worried when anytime he was around him, like what was his mood? If he was in a bad mood, they could be in a lot of trouble. Oh, that's what's controlling the frame. Don't forget what price you can pay, because I am the game and I want to play. And it's the last thing I'm going to talk about is playing on your own terms. Playing, well, 1 second. Playing the game on your own terms. If you're the game, you choose how you want to play. For example, if you're in anytime you're in an argument with someone, um, and they are trying to take the frame of deciding what we're talking about, what's the tone, what's the engagement? Is this a higher up to subservient interaction? Is this plane to plane? Is this a man to woman interaction? Is this a adult to child interaction? A lot of times people will try to shift those dynamics. But the important part is, especially in your field of competency, your field of studentry, is just controlling the frame of wherever you are. I'm going to use fighting, for example. Now, a lot of times in fights, you have the two, say, boxers or any kind of fighter, are trying. There's a little bit of a battle. What kind of fight we're gonna have? UFC might be a better example because it's MMA. It's all different kinds of fights. Now, obviously, the guy who has a boxing background or kickboxing is gonna want to have a stand-up game, have a stand-up fight with the other person. And if the other person and their competitor has more background in, say, judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or wrestling, they're going to want to play the ground game. So it's an interesting fight of frame where they're trying to control like how the fight's going to go. And oftentimes, even they don't even realize it, that someone can accidentally give up that frame and in the heat of the fight and kind of realize that they're playing at their disadvantages than their advantages because the other person had so much control, and just be little things to shift the fight into their favor. And that's all about, if you're a student and you're learning and you're becoming more and more competent at something, try the little things you can try to shift things in your favor. Play to your strengths always. That if you're the game and you want to play in your battlefield. And this almost applies to anywhere in life. Okay? So I think the biggest message I have is that you're always a student of the game. And if you want to be high value in that certain field, I'm not saying you have to. I never say you have to do something, but if that's your goal to be on high value any kind of field, you think of one right now. If you want to be high value in that, you need to literally become the game. For example, I want to be a big YouTuber. I want to. This is my goal, and I have to become the game of recording and streaming. And at one point, I see that where I am at that competence level, and I got a long way to go, but I know I've got quite a bit foundation already on me for that confidence. So I will always be a student. Even if I have a million subscribers, I'm still always going to be looking at ways to expand, ways to make my videos higher quality. And I think that's one of my edges over other people. I I want to be the best student of all time. That's one of my life goals, to be the best student of all time in every field. It could be in terms of money, it could be terms of just personal skill, it could be terms in analytical fields, anything. I want to be the best student because that's one of my other edges, being able to listen to other people and learn. And that is huge. And if you can take something from that, just be more willing to learn, be a better student, it's going to help you so much becoming high value. All right. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I want you guys to have a Merry Christmas. I put a tree to the right of me because it's awesome. And I will see you guys next Sunday. Let me check. Sunday. I think that's January of the first of the new year. Yeah, I think it is. So episode 4, it's gonna be January 1st, the first video stream of the year. And hopefully we're gonna get my foot on the right start. Okay? And it will be a live stream. It's not gonna be a video. I'm gonna be live. This is just pre-recorded because of Christmas. Okay? So Thank you for watching and enjoy your holidays.